What you're about to hear will change how you see death. 2 people. Both dying. One became hostile and obsessed with drowning. The other became impossibly strong. And both of them predicted exactly when they'd die. This shouldn't be possible. But I have proof. A 67-year-old man was dying of stage 4 cancer. He couldn't walk. He couldn't feed himself. The doctors gave him days to live. And then, 1 week before he died, he got out of bed, walked to the gym, and bench pressed 185 pounds. What I'm about to tell you isn't medically possible. But it happened. And it's a mystery that has been happening to dying people for centuries. But before we get into this story, if stories like this interests you, then you have come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button. Robert was dying. The cancer had spread from his lungs to his liver, his bones, his brain. By October 2022, he weighed 120 pounds. He couldn't stand without help. He slept 20 hours a day. His wife, Linda, had accepted it. Their children had said their goodbyes. The hospice nurse told them, "It's any day now. He's in the final stage." Robert's body was shutting down. Except, it wasn't. Because on October 19th, something impossible happened. Robert woke up. And I don't mean he opened his eyes. I mean he woke up. Linda was sitting beside Robert's bed when he suddenly sat up, alone, without help, and said, "I'm hungry." She stared at him in shock. For 3 weeks, Robert hadn't eaten solid food. He'd been on morphine, drifting in and out of consciousness. But now, he was asking for breakfast. She made him eggs and toast. He ate every bite. Then he stood up. Linda screamed for the nurse. When she arrived, she found Robert walking laps around his room. "This isn't possible," the nurse whispered. But Robert didn't stop there. By day 2, he was doing push-ups. By day 3, he asked his son to take him to the gym. I need you to pause and think, have you ever seen someone rally with impossible strength right before they died? Comment below, because this gets stranger. Robert's son, David, thought his father was having a final burst of energy, a last good day before the end. But it wasn't one day. It was 7. At the gym, Robert walked straight to the bench press. David tried to stop him, but Robert insisted. He loaded 135 pounds onto the bar and pressed it. Then 155. Then 185. David recorded it on his phone. In the video, he could see Robert's skeletal arms shaking as he lifts the weight. His face is gaunt, his eyes sunken. But he's smiling. The gym went silent. People stared. One trainer approached David and said, "What's wrong with him?" David replied, "He's dying." Over the next week, Robert acted like a man who'd been cured. He went for walks. He cooked dinner. He played with his grandchildren. He told Linda, "I feel stronger than I have in years." The doctors couldn't explain it. His scans showed the cancer was still there, growing, even. His organs were failing. But his body didn't know that. On day 6, something changed again. Robert became distant. He stopped talking as much. He'd stare out the window for hours, not responding when Linda called his name. His daughter, Michelle, said it felt like he was already somewhere else. On the morning of October 26th, Robert woke up early. He made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and wrote letters to each member of his family. Linda found him there, writing by hand, something he hadn't had the strength to do in months. "What are you doing?" she asked. Robert looked up at her with clear, calm eyes and said, saying goodbye. It's today. Linda felt her stomach drop. What do you mean? She asked again, could not fathom what he had just said. I'm leaving today, Robert said. I can feel it. I just wanted to make sure you all knew. I'm ready. If you've ever had someone tell you exactly when they were going to die, and they were right, comment below. Because this phenomenon is real, and it's terrifying. Robert spent the rest of the day with his family. He laughed. He hugged each of them. He told stories from his childhood. At 6 p.m., he said he was tired. He went to his room, lay down on the bed, and closed his eyes. Linda lay beside him, holding his hand. At 6:47 p.m., Robert took a deep breath, squeezed Linda's hand, and whispered, "Thank you." Then he stopped breathing. Just like he said he would. The autopsy showed that Robert's cancer had ravaged his body. His organs were in complete failure. Medically, he shouldn't have been able to walk, let alone bench press 185 pounds. But he did. And he's not alone. This is called terminal lucidity, or the rally. It's a documented medical phenomenon where dying patients suddenly regain strength, clarity, and energy days or even hours before death. It's been reported in patients with dementia, cancer, strokes, and traumatic injuries. Doctors don't know why it happens. Some think it's the body's final surge of adrenaline. Others believe it's neurological, a last firing of neurons before shutdown. But families who've witnessed it say it feels like something else. Like the person is being given one last chance to say goodbye. So, here's my question. Have you witnessed a rally before someone passed? Did they suddenly become strong, clear, or eerily calm right before the end? Drop your story in the comments, because these patterns matter. If this story moved you, hit that like button. If you want more mysteries like this, subscribe. And if someone you love is in their final days and suddenly seems to get better, don't take it for granted. It might be their way of saying goodbye. Now, Robert's story is terrifying because he came back stronger before he died. But what if I told you there's an opposite phenomenon? Where dying people that were full of life just fades away. Let me tell you about Sarah. What you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about death. Because Sarah Mitchell didn't just die in that crash, she changed 3 weeks before it happened. And when I tell you how she changed, you're going to remember this story every time someone you love starts acting different. Sarah Mitchell was the kind of woman people wrote about in local newspapers. For 12 years, she ran a free skills training center in Columbus, Ohio. Every Saturday, she'd teach unemployed mothers how to code, how to interview, how to rebuild their lives. She'd paid for it all herself, her own money, her own time. Her husband, Marcus, said she had this way of lighting up a room. Her daughter, Emma, said her mom was her best friend. But there was one thing Sarah wanted more than anything else in the world. A second child. After 8 years of trying, 8 years of failures and heartbreak, it finally happened. Sarah was pregnant. She was 43 years old, and she was going to have her baby boy. She'd already named him, Daniel. Everything was perfect. And then, 3 weeks before the crash, Sarah changed. It started small. Marcus noticed it first. Sarah snapped at him for leaving a cup on the counter. Not annoyed, snapped. Like he'd committed some unforgivable crime. She looked at me like she didn't know me, Marcus told investigators later. Like I was a stranger in her house. The next day, Emma came home from school excited about making the volleyball team. Sarah stared at her for a long moment, then said, "That's nice," and walked away. No hug. No celebration. Nothing. Emma cried in her room that night. By week 2, Sarah stopped going to the training center. The mothers she'd helped for over a decade called, worried. She didn't answer. Her colleagues at the college where she taught part-time said she became hostile. During a faculty meeting, she stood up, looked around the room, and said, "You're all wasting my time." Then she left. Here's what I need you to think about right now. Have you ever noticed a dramatic personality change in someone before they died? Drop a comment below, because what happens next gets darker. Week 3. Sarah was 36 weeks pregnant. The baby was healthy. Everything looked perfect on paper. But Marcus said she started doing something strange. She'd stand at the window of their bedroom at night, staring out at nothing. For hours. When he'd ask what she was looking at, she'd say, "The bridge." They lived 3 miles from the Olentangy River Bridge. She started talking about it constantly. The bridge. The water. The fall. Like she was rehearsing something. Marcus begged her to see a doctor. She refused. On March 14th, Sarah's best friend, Rachel, came over to check on her. She found Sarah sitting in the nursery she'd decorated for Daniel, the room she'd painted herself, filled with tiny clothes and stuffed animals. Sarah was crying. Rachel asked what was wrong. And Sarah said something that still haunts Rachel to this day. "I don't want this anymore. I don't want any of this. I need to go where it's quiet." Rachel asked, "What do you mean?" Sarah turned to her with empty eyes and said, "Under the water. It's the only place that's quiet now." If you've ever heard someone you love say something that made your blood run cold in the days before they passed, I need you to comment below. Because you're not alone. March 18th, at exactly 7:47 p.m. Sarah told Marcus she was going to get ice cream. She was craving mint chocolate chip, something she'd wanted throughout the pregnancy. He kissed her goodbye. He touched her belly and said goodnight to Daniel. That was the last time he saw her alive. At 8:02 p.m., Sarah's car accelerated on Route 315 North. Witnesses said she wasn't swerving. She wasn't braking. She was driving straight. When she reached the Olentangy River Bridge, she turned the wheel hard to the right, crashed through the guardrail, and plunged 40 feet into the dark water below. Emergency responders pulled her out 17 minutes later. Sarah Mitchell was pronounced dead at the scene. So was Daniel. The autopsy showed no drugs, no alcohol, no medical emergency. She had been perfectly healthy. The police ruled it a suicide. But here's the part that nobody talks about, the part that makes this story something else entirely. After Sarah died, Marcus found her journal. She'd been writing in it every day for 3 weeks, ever since the change started. The entries were disturbing. March 1st, I can hear them now. They're calling from the water. March 5th, the bridge is waiting. It's where I'm supposed to go. March 10th, Marcus and Emma don't understand. They can't hear what I hear. The voices are so loud now. March 17th, tomorrow. The water will finally be quiet. Medical experts later said Sarah may have experienced prenatal psychosis, a rare condition that can cause hallucinations and delusions during pregnancy. But Marcus doesn't believe that. Because 3 other women in the county died the exact same way between 2019 and 2021. All pregnant. All drove off bridges. All experienced sudden personality changes in the weeks before. No drugs. No alcohol. No clear explanation. The FBI investigated. They found no connection between the women. The case remains unsolved. So, here's my question for you. What causes someone to completely change in the final weeks before they die? Is it medical? Psychological? Or something we don't understand yet? More importantly, if you've experienced this with someone you loved, drop your story in the comments. Because the more we talk about this, the more patterns emerge. If this story affected you, hit that like button. If you want more mysteries like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. And remember, if someone you love suddenly changes, if they become withdrawn, hostile, or start talking about death, don't ignore it. Because Sarah's family wishes they hadn't. I'll see you in the next one.